The other day I was thinking about what's happened between the time when Purple was sort of breaking through in the UK and just like this year, for example. And there's now we're talking about 1969, 1970 and 1984, so it's about 14 years, 14 or 15 years difference. And rock has survived throughout all that time through. I mean, it's been pinned against the wall and chucked out, and it's always come back. And it's very easy to be critical about it, but I think going back to running our own bands and all that sort of thing, it was a big problem with trying to fight the trends and everything else. But I mean, you never give in. You do what you believe in, and you stick to what you believe in. You find the best musicians, and you deal in what you believe in is quality and music that makes you happy. Music, I don't mean like knees up, but I mean music that gives you a shiver down your back. And I was imagining the average rock fan in 1970 going to a variety of concerts. And they may go one week to see Black Sabbath in 1970, which was probably at that time the heaviest end of the musical spectrum. I mean, really the original heavy metal band, I suppose. Then another week they might go and see Jethro Tull, which is a sort of folk-orientated rock music. Another week they might go and see Nice, which is classical rock feeling. And then a few weeks later they might go and see Free, which is soul and blues based. All of these bands are great, absolutely fantastic. Then they might go and see Mark Bolan or T-Rex or whatever. And it suddenly occurred to me how badly things are at the moment in the way of the general concept of appreciation of music through, I think, particularly the newspaper medium in this country. It's been segregated so much, and I find it very sad. I'd love to see Paul Young and Adamant and the Police and all those other kind of people appreciated in a much wider form of acknowledgement of the talent that particularly British music has been producing over the years. But it's become so segregated that what has now become the rock and roll, as people see it now, is heavy metal. And everyone's been dragged into this very, very narrow, two parallel lines, and everyone seems to be screaming and shouting and headbanging, which was always part of rock and roll, and it's exciting. But there seems to be no colour, no texture, no dynamism, no balance, and nothing to offset it. It's like somebody shouting at you all the time. If they shout at you all the time, it becomes ineffective after a while. Whereas if you have a bit of melody or colour or anything else, and if people are talking very quietly, and then they go, wah, and it makes you jump, and it has an effect. I don't mean this as an indictment of any of the bands who are sticking to the heavy rock side of it. I don't mean that as an indictment at all. I just wish that people would widen their views slightly, and it'd be great for you to be able to play to an audience that you knew would actually want to hear it, because they hadn't been led up the garden path as to say, well, no, this is not fashionable, this is not rock music or whatever. I think what I'm trying to say is that we had a much broader point of view 10 or 15 years ago as far as the appreciation of good music was concerned.
Yeah. Of all the tracks that you recorded during the time that you were not part of Purple, which do you think is the one that you would look back in 20 years' time or whenever, as you'd play it again and go, that really was representative of that part of my life?
Oh, that's a difficult question. I did 11 albums between leaving Purple and rejoining Purple.
Right.
And it's very difficult. There are tracks I look back on with great affection, like Mr. Universe, Born to Kill, No Laughing in Heaven, Dead of Night. Oh,
I'll have to ask you to choose one. I know it's a difficult thing, but there's one that when you think about it, you revel in. You go, it worked. On every conceivable level, it worked.
Oh, Lord. Well, I think the most fun track then, that we ever did, and if you can find this, if you can find it in the BBC library. I defy you to find it. But it was released. It was a B-side of which single I forget. But it was written in the pub next door to my studio, which I used to have. And we decided on a title. We decided on a key. And we decided how many verses there were going to be before we went to a chorus. So it was going to be a couple of verses, chorus, and then a solo in another key. It was all worked out on the back of a napkin. We went in and played it, and we decided that whatever went down first take was going to be it. This was when we were competing against the Sex Pistols and everything else, and punk was at its height. And we thought, well, in actual fact, they haven't got it too wrong, because really rock and roll should be like that as well. And it always was. It's a track called The Maelstrom.